Last night, David Letterman gave an amazing 10-minute revelation at the Ed Sullivan Theater. He said he had been the victim of attempted blackmail. The real David Letterman was nothing like his TV character. Behind the jokes was a man who cheated on his wife with multiple staff members, abused female guests until they cried, and got caught in a $2 million blackmail scandal. Did he face consequences? Nope, he just went to his huge 108-acre country palace that most Americans could never imagine. David Letterman was born in Indianapolis, Indiana on April 12, 947. His father, Harry Joseph Letterman, was a florist, and his mother, Dorothy, was a church secretary. He grew up in the Broad Ripple neighborhood, which was close to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and gave him a love of racing that lasted his whole life. As a child, Letterman had a natural talent for making people laugh, and he looked up to his father's ability to tell jokes and keep a crowd interested, but he was always afraid. At age 36, Letterman's father had a heart attack and survived, but the experience left a lasting scar. The fear of losing him never really went away. In 1973, when Letterman was 26, his father had a second heart attack and did not survive. At Broad Ripple High School, Letterman's sense of humor became more apparent. He wasn't the best student, but he had a way of making people laugh. While he was in school, he worked part-time as a stock boy at Atlas Supermarket. He wanted to go to Indiana University, but he didn't have the grades. At the time, he probably felt like settling for less when he chose to attend Ball State University in Muni. That choice, however, would shape his future. Letterman majored in telecommunications in Ball State's Department of Radio and Television. He later joked that he was a C student, and in 1985, he even created a scholarship for students with average grades. While his grades weren't great, his love for broadcasting grew, and he joined the Sigma Chi fraternity and started working at the campus radio station, WBST. But his humor got him into trouble. He added jokes to biographies of classical composers, like saying that Claude Debussy wrote music for Claire Delon and all their little loons. The station management didn't find it funny, so Letterman was fired after just 1 week. But he was determined to keep working in radio, so he and a few classmates started their own station, WAAM M57D, which later became WCD. This gave him the creative freedom he wanted, and little by little, he found his comedic voice. In 1969, after graduating from Ball State, Letterman landed a job as a weatherman at WTHR, now WLYI-TV, in Indianapolis, but his style was anything but normal. He would include jokes in his forecasts, like praising a tropical storm for becoming a hurricane and warning viewers about hail the size of canned hams. His unique approach made him stand out. In addition to weather reporting, he hosted a Saturday morning kids show and worked as a late-night movie host, but it was clear that regular broadcasting wasn't the right fit for him. David Letterman left his stable job as a radio talk show host and moved to Los Angeles in 1975D. It wasn't just a change of address, it was a leap into the unknown. His wife Michelle Cook and his Sigma Chi fraternity friends encouraged him to take the risk. They put their things in Letterman's red pickup cup truck, which he kept for decades, and drove west. In the mid-1970s, Los Angeles was the center of the comedy world, and The Tonight Show had just started airing. Comedians from all over the country rushed to Burbank in 1972 to try to become famous. Letterman started out by performing at bars like The Showbiz, which was run by Murray Langston, who later became famous as the Unknown Comic. Money was tight, and he lived in North Hollywood while trying to break into the scene, but his quick wit and dry humor made him stand out. Jimmy Walker, star of Good Times, saw his talent and hired him to write jokes for Jay Leno and Louis Anderson. By 1977, Letterman was married to Michelle. While his personal life was changing, his career was moving forward. He had found a place in the comedy world, and his next big step came at the Comedy Store. The Comedy Store wasn't just a club, it was where the best comedians tested their material and proved they belonged. Letterman performed with legends like Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Paul Mooney, Mitzi Shore, and others. The club's owner had a good eye for talent and gave, while other comedians relied on high-energy delivery, Letterman kept his humor low-key and sarcastic. He could take a simple idea and turn it into something hilarious. Comedian Gary Mudir remembered one of Letterman's early jokes. The management of WNAS would like to state that they are diametrically opposed to the use of orphans as yardage markers at driving ranges. At the Comedy Store, the competition was fierce, but the comedians also pushed each other to improve. Jay Leno and Paul Money often sat in the back, critiquing sets, taking notes, and raising the bar. It was the perfect place for Letterman to improve his skills, but more importantly, it was where he caught the attention of the people who could change his career. In 1978, he got his first chance to appear on Johnny Carson's The Tonight Show. One appearance can make or break a comedian's career, and Carson liked Letterman so much that he invited him back several times over the next 2 years, which didn't happen very often. By 1980, Carson trusted him enough to make him a regular. Carson taught Letterman everything he knew about hosting, including how to time a joke, read an audience, and make guests feel comfortable while keeping things entertaining. Their relationship went beyond TV. Carson admired Letterman's talent and even sent him jokes for his monologues after he retired. When Carson died in 2005, Letterman dedicated an entire monologue to jokes written by his mentor. In 1992, NBC chose Jay Leno over Letterman to replace Carson as host of The Tonight Show. Many people thought Carson wanted Letterman to take over, but Letterman had already built a legacy that would only grow stronger over the years to come. Before he became a late-night legend, Letterman had a number of TV roles, some of which worked and others of which didn't. In 1977, NBC gave him a try with the pilot for the game show The Riddlers, but it never aired. The next year, he joined Mary, a variety show starring Mary Tyler Moore. It only lasted 3 episodes, but it introduced people got used to his sarcastic style. On the Starland Vocal Band show in 1977, a summer variety series where he worked as both a writer and performer. These early jobs didn't make him a star, but they did help him improve his humor, which was self-aware, sharp, and always a little offbeat. In 1980, NBC gave him The David Letterman Show, a morning talk show unlike anything else on TV. It had traditional interviews, but it also had crazy segments like elevator races and sending audience members on strange errands. Although the show only ran for 3 months, critics loved it, and it won 2 Daytime Emmy Awards for writing. More importantly, it paved the way for what came next. Every failed show, every joke that worked, and every lesson from Carson led him to Late Night with David Letterman. When it premiered on NBC on February 1, 1982, it wasn't just another talk show. It was unpredictable, irreverent, and unlike anything viewers had seen before. Instead of a traditional opening monologue, Larry Bud Melman delivered a parody of Boris Karloff's Frankenstein prologue. Next was the first guest, Bill Murray, who jumped on stage with a lot of energy. He accused Letterman of stealing his material, fought with the host, and even did aerobics to Olivia Newton-John's physical with a crew member. It was weird, it was funny, and that was just the beginning. What made Late Night stand out was instead of polished interviews and predictable jokes, the show featured absurdity segments like Stupid Pet Tricks, where regular people could show off their animals' strange skills, like a dog that could skateboard or a cat that could play the piano. This segment was so popular that it was later turned into its own show in 2021. There was also Stupid Human Tricks, where contestants did equally ridiculous feats. In 1994, Annabella Almeida shocked audiences with her jaw-dropping flexibility, bending her body in ways that didn't seem possible. These segments weren't just filler, they became cultural touchstones. Letterman's relationship with his band leader Paul Schaefer added to the craziness. Their sarcastic banter turned the show into a running commentary on itself. While most late-night hosts stuck to a script, Letterman made fun of it. He purposely threw things off a 5-story building and threw himself against a wall while wearing a Velcro suit. During an interview, he wore a suit with magnets on it that attracted metal objects during the conversation. It was unpredictable, which was the point. This offbeat style was a direct challenge to Johnny Carson's polished approach on The Tonight Show. Carson was smooth and professional, while Letterman tore apart the very idea of a talk show. He made fun of guests, his network, and even himself. Early on, his rebellious attitude made Late Night a cult favorite, especially among college students and young adults. 5 Emmy Awards and 35 nominations made the show one of the most groundbreaking on TV. One of Letterman's biggest contributions to comedy was the Top 10 list, which premiered on September 18th, 1985, with the theme Top 10 Words That Almost Rhyme with Peas. The list was ridiculous, but the way it was put together, slow build up, drumroll, countdown, made every entry funnier just by anticipation. Viewers loved it over the years. Letterman delivered it. The idea for the segment came from head writer Steve O'Donnell, who was making fun of the pointless lists that appear in newspapers. But the segment grew into much more than a joke, with celebrities often joining in. John Malkovich once read 10 things that sound creepy when said by John Malkovich. When Letterman retired in 2015, a parade of stars took turns reading the final top 10 list. The beauty of the segment was how it played with expectations. Letterman was able to balance satire with real-life events. For example, after September 11, the show ran a list of top 10 ways Osama bin Laden can improve his image. Number 10 on the list said, "There's no way he can improve his image. He's a soulless, simple, direct, and brutally effective Letterman." Letterman's humor wasn't just edgy, it was confrontational. He had no problem making guests uncomfortable. In one of his most famous interviews, Cher flat out called him, "There was a lot of tension during Madonna's appearance because she argued with Letterman about her use of bad language." Some celebrities loved the unpredictability, while others never came back. But whether an interview was funny, awkward, or completely off the rails, it was always interesting. Beyond interviews, Letterman took absurdity to a whole new level. For example, on Will It Float, he and Schaefer would drop random objects into a tank of water and guess whether they would float or sink. Letterman also loved making fun of his own network, NBC. He openly criticized programming decisions and even started on-air fights with General Electric, NBC's parent company. In 1993, David Letterman made a career move that changed late-night TV for more than a decade. He became the host of Late Night with David Letterman on NBC. Many people thought he would take over The Tonight Show when Johnny Carson retired, and Carson was said to want him as his replacement. Letterman felt overlooked when NBC hired Jay Leno instead, so CBS saw an opening and offered him a $14 million year deal, twice what he was making at NBC. He couldn't refuse, and CBS wasn't just interested in hiring Letterman, they also wanted to make a statement. So they bought the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York City for $4 million, $5 million, and completely changed it. The building was old and needed a lot of work. The number of seats was cut from 1,265 to 400 to make the theater feel more intimate. Soundproofing was improved to block out the noise of Manhattan. The stained glass windows were taken down and stored carefully. The interior plasterwork was restored to give the theater its classic look. A team of 200 workers finished the renovation in just 12 weeks. On August 30th, 1993, The Late Show with David Letterman debuted on CBS. The show was an instant hit. For a while, Letterman's sharp humor and unpredictable energy drew in audiences. He even did better in the ratings than Leno after moving to CBS. Over the years, The Late Show became known for its wild and unforgettable moments. One of the most famous happened on April 12, 1995, Letterman's 48th birthday. Drew Barrymore was a guest on the show, and at one point she jumped on his desk, danced, and flashed him live on TV. The moment became legendary, perfectly capturing the carefree nature of Late Show with David Letterman. In January 2000, Letterman had to have emergency quintile heart bypass surgery. Just 5 weeks later, he went back to The Late Show, and his comeback episode was both emotional and funny. He joked about his surgery and thanked the doctors who saved his life, even inviting them on stage. It was one of the most watched episodes in the show's history, showing how deeply connected he was with his audience. Also a smart businessman, he started his own production company, Worldwide Pants, Inc., in 1991. It wasn't just for The Late Show, it also made The Late Late Show and the wildly popular sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. The show ran for 9 seasons from 1996 to 2005 and won multiple Emmy Awards. It was one of CBS's biggest hits. Worldwide Pants had a unique way of working. Instead of controlling every project, it gave networks the money and let them handle the rest. This let them be more creative. Freedom while keeping financial risks low, the company even grew into film production, helping to fund films like Strangers with Candy, which had its world premiere at Sundance in 2005. Even after Letterman retired in 2015, Worldwide Pants kept ownership of his huge archive of shows, securing his legacy in the entertainment industry. In April 2013, Letterman became the longest-running late-night talk show host in American history, beating out Johnny Carson. Over the course of his career, he hosted a total of 6,080 episodes spanning 33 years. David Letterman's life has been full of ups and downs, both on TV and in his personal relationships. He married Michelle Cook on July 2, 1968. They met at Ball State University, where he was still figuring out his future. Michelle saw something in him right away, and she encouraged him to take comedy seriously. She even convinced him to move to Los Angeles, which changed his life. At first, it was hard for Letterman, who had left a stable job as a weatherman in Indianapolis to start his career in Los Angeles. Money was tight, and success didn't happen overnight. The stress of building a career took a toll on their marriage as Letterman became famous in the mid-1970s. The distance between them grew, and after 9 years together, they got divorced in 1977. The relationship ended, but Michelle's influence on his career lingered. Without her belief in him, things might have turned out differently. In February 1986, Letterman's personal life got complicated when he started dating Regina, while still living with Merrill Markoe, Lasco's then-girlfriend and the head writer for Late Night with David Letterman. They started a relationship that would last for decades. Regina worked in TV and later became a production manager for The Late Show for years. Letterman avoided marriage for years because his first divorce had made him wary. Regina wanted to make a commitment, but he hesitated, even joked about it in interviews. Finally, after 23 years together, he married her on March 19, 2009 in a simple ceremony at a Choteau courthouse. Montana, their marriage took a big test. Just 6 months later, on October 1, 2009, Letterman went on stage and admitted to having affairs with female staff members. The confession wasn't planned. A CBS News producer had tried to blackmail him for $2 million by threatening to expose the affairs if he didn't pay. Instead, Letterman told the world about the affairs himself. Regina had to deal with the public fallout while she tried to process her own pain, but she chose to stay with him despite the betrayal. They had a rough patch, but it didn't break them. Letterman became a father late in life. His son, Harry Joseph Letterman, was born on November 3, 2003, when he was 56 years old. Becoming a father changed everything for him. He often talked about how Harry made him softer and changed the way he saw life. Then, when Harry was only 16 months old in 2005, police found a plan to kidnap him. Kelly Frank, a former employee at Letterman's Montana ranch, was planning to. Authorities stopped the plan before anything bad could happen, but it was a wake-up call that fame didn't just bring success, it also brought danger. In October 2009, Letterman shocked his audience by telling them that someone had tried to blackmail him for $2 million. The man who did it was Robert Halderman, a CBS producer who had found out that Letterman had been having sexual relationships with female staff members. Halderman had left a package in Letterman's car with evidence, emails, diary entries, and personal information from one of his assistants, Stephanie Burkett. The situation was messy, and Burkett had been seeing Halderman before, which added to the drama. Instead of paying up, Letterman went straight to the police. A sting operation was set up, and Halderman was given a fake $2 million check. As soon as he tried to cash it, he was arrested. That part was over, but Letterman still had to face the public, so he decided to confess everything on The Late Show in his usual honest and funny way. Instead of ruining his career, the scandal helped it. His ratings went up 19%, and 5.7 million people watched over the next few days, even though most people didn't pay much attention. The scandal raised questions about workplace ethics. Letterman admitted to having relationships with subordinates, but never directly apologized to the women involved. Some thought he was using humor to downplay a serious issue, while others saw his confession as a smart way to control the situation. However, Halderman wasn't as lucky. He pleaded guilty to attempted grand larceny and was sentenced to 6 months in jail long before that. Letterman's behavior in interviews had already raised concerns. In 1998, he shocked Jennifer Aniston by leaning in and sucking on a strand of her hair without warning. She looked uncomfortable while he laughed it off. In 2007, Paris Hilton went on The Late Show to promote a new fragrance, but Letterman kept asking her about her personal life instead. Later, she told him that he was hurting her feelings and that she regretted going on the show. One of the most criticized times was when Lindsay Lohan went on Letterman to promote Scary Movie 5. She agreed to talk about her movie, but Letterman kept talking about her drug problems and time in rehab. The interview quickly became awkward. Lohan hadn't expected those questions, and it felt more like an ambush than a late-night talk show appearance. At the time, these moments were brushed off. Years later, they came up again in a different light. Critics pointed out how often women in entertainment had been treated unfairly by the media. Some of Letterman's old interviews started to feel less like comedy and more like examples of a much bigger problem. Letterman's fights with celebrities only added to his reputation for being unpredictable. His 16-year feud with Oprah Winfrey began with a few jokes, but got worse after he pulled a prank saying that it is said that Oprah was so offended that she wouldn't go on his show for over a decade. They didn't make up until 2005. His rivalry with Jay Leno was even worse. When Johnny Carson left The Tonight Show in 1992, most people thought Letterman would take over. Even Carson himself preferred him. But NBC gave the job to Leno instead, which led to years of competition and public jabs. Their feud lasted for almost 20 years, only ending in 2010 when they both appeared on together in a Super Bowl commercial with Oprah. It was an unexpected moment, but it helped end one of late-night TV's biggest rivalries. David Letterman quit The Late Show on May 22, 2015, after 33 years in the business. It was the end of an era. He hosted 6,028 shows and interviewed nearly 200. Zero guests. His last episode was packed with stars including Bill Murray, Jerry Seinfeld, Tina Fey, and even 4 U.S. presidents, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush and Obama joined in the farewell. They sent a video message joking, "Our long national nightmare is over." It was a fitting end for a man who had spent decades mixing humor and wit. Letterman had a huge impact on TV. From 1982 to 1993, he hosted Late Night on NBC, and from 1993 to 2015, he hosted The Late Show on CBS. He won 16 Emmys out of 112 nominations. His first Emmy was for Outstanding Writing on Late Night, and he won 4 more for writing before moving on to other things. When he moved to CBS to host The Late Show, he won 9 more Emmys in different categories. In 2015, he received the Peabody Award for Individual Achievement, which is an award that is rarely given to talk show hosts. He also received other major honors, such as the Kennedy Center Honors in 2012 and the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 2017. But Letterman's real impact wasn't just in the awards he won. It was in how he changed late-night television. With segments like Stupid Pet Tricks and Top 10 lists, he turned silliness into comedy gold. He made his bandleader Paul Schaefer a celebrity in his own right. His interviews were unpredictable, sometimes funny, sometimes awkward, but they were never boring. He influenced a generation of comedians, including Jon Stewart, Jimmy Kimmel, and Stephen Colbert. When Letterman retired, many people thought he would fade from view, but he launched My Next Guest Needs No Introduction on Netflix in 2018. It was a different kind of show. There was no desk, no band, and no sidekick. Each episode instead focused on a single in-depth interview. His first guest was Barack Obama, which was Obama's first interview after leaving office. Over the next few seasons, Letterman interviewed people like Malala Yousafzai, Billy Eilish, and Vladimir Zelensky. In 2022, he went to Kiev to interview Zelensky while Russia was at war with Ukraine. The episode showed how much My Next Guest had changed. It wasn't just a talk show, it was a place for serious conversation. Letterman's ability to mix the show was one of Netflix's most popular talk shows, combining humor with serious topics. It earned multiple Emmy nominations and showed that Letterman could still connect with audiences in a completely new format. Outside of TV, Letterman has stayed very involved with Ball State University, where he graduated in 1969. Over the years, he has given the school more than 1,000 items of memorabilia, many of which are on display in the David Letterman Experience exhibit in the university's museum. In addition to memorabilia, Letterman has sponsored scholarships for students wanting to work in the media and set up a lecture series that has brought famous people like Oprah Winfrey and Rachel Maddow to campus to talk. Letterman's retreat is his huge estate in North Salem, New York. It covers 108 acres and has a mansion with 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms that was built in 1986. The home combines traditional design with modern luxury and has a Letterman-bought 88 acres of land for $5 million in 1994 and added another 20 acres in 2007 for almost $5 million more. The estate is now worth an estimated $6,200,000, though its value has likely gone up because of its famous owner. Letterman didn't just retire, he changed. He left the desk but not the conversations. He left network TV but found a new home in streaming. He is still one of the most influential people in entertainment, proving that reinventing yourself is possible, is just one more part of a great job.